quorum, so. Let me find my materials. 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, December 21st, 2022, and I'm calling the regular Belle Plaine City Council meeting into session. Should be noted, those in attendance are Councilperson Peck, Councilperson Schlusselman, Councilperson Morrill, absent is Councilperson Malcolm, absent is Councilperson Gay, Councilperson Landon is now here, Administrator Steve Beck's here, Assistant City Attorney Gage Kinsler is here, Mayor Dave Fish is here, City Clerk Sandra Walton's here. I'd like to remind all in attendance, including council and staff, to please shut off your cell phones or put them on the mute mode. And I will note that my cell phone, because one of our EasyCog representatives is on that phone, will be live. So that means I could get tweets, I could get calls, and anything else might come through there. I didn't ignore my own order. I just can't be heard. So with that being said, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's move to agenda item number 4, approval of the consent agenda, council minutes of December 7th, 2022, and bills received. Questions on that agenda item from the council?
I just had one question. On the roll call vote where where Judy abstained because she was a member of the BPCDC. Are you a member of the board?
Yes.
Okay. I think if we put board member in there, then that's more accurate because we could have more members at some point.
That would.
Got that?
Yep.
Any other questions, notions from the council? If there are no other comments, I'm looking for a motion on agenda item number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve the council agenda, council minutes of December 7th, 22.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Move to item number 5, resident comments. If there are any residents who wish to come to the podium and make comments on tonight's agenda or any other actions pertaining to the city government, please come to the podium, state your full name and your address so that can be noted in the minutes. Please address all comments to the entire city council. This is not a time to address individuals on the council or a time for a debate. Please address the council with respect and courtesy. To the council, this is time for us to listen to the ideas and information our residents are bringing to our attention. I also remind the council this is not a time for a debate. Please make all questions to the citizens as informational in nature as possible. And I remind the council to please address the public with the respect and courtesy all city residents deserve. With that being said, are there any residents who wish to come to the podium tonight to address the city council? Sorry, Gus, you live about 25 feet outside the city, so you aren't a resident. You never should have came. I'll pick on you all night. Seeing no comments, let's move to the major item on the agenda tonight. Public hearing concerning the CDBG-DR application in preparation for a community development housing needs assessment. I now open the public hearing to comments from anyone from the public. Seeing no one from the public, I have Tracy Achenbach on the cell phone, who will be our EasyCog, that's East Central Iowa Council of Government representative, who will guide us through this. And as I remind the council, I met with the developer this afternoon. I think this is his 7th project in the state of Iowa. I believe he has one currently going in Cascade, which is a 10 apartment unit that they're developing. I believe he just finished in Atkins with a brewery. Is the brewery the one there he did?
Mhm.
And I'm not sure what the other ones are. So he's excited to come here. The sale of the building took place today, and they already actually started doing some work down there because he's got a college crew that tore down ceilings in that building. So with that being said, Tracy, I will let you address the city council, and any questions they might have will come through my phone back to you. So Tracy is the housing person for East Central Iowa Council of Governments. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. So just to remind everybody, the state of Iowa I think it was about in the spring, it was announced that there was going to be an allocation to the state of Iowa of $57 million. I think that increased maybe by a little bit more than that, but that's roughly what it was. And they announced that it was for the derecho. As a result of the derecho storm, they determined that 80% of the funding would be spent in Lynn County because Lynn County was more substantially damaged. And then they determined that the remaining 20% would be spent in Benton, Marshall, and Tama counties. So Benton County, of course, is one of my counties. I don't know about the applications that are going in for Marshall and Tama because those aren't my counties that I serve. So what the state determined, the main priority is the creation of new housing units. And then for Benton County, they also are going to make funding available for generators. And that will be available sometime in January, I think. Kate, is Kate in the audience, Mayor?
Yes, she is.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
So Kate had the wherewithal to, in regard to the Moore building in Belle Plaine, to think about and realize that the disaster funding might be an opportunity to be able to renovate those units in the upper story of the Moore building. So she reached out and we talked about it a bit, and it has moved forward. So that's what we're doing tonight. I remind you that CDBG funds have to go through a city or a county, and because the project is located in Belle Plaine, then you're the applicant. And I have certain things that I have to do that I will be typing up minutes in the morning after the public hearing that have to be in the meeting minutes so that Sandy can make sure that they're in there. So I'm gonna just read it so that I know that I capture everything because I'm sort of a rule follower. And I'll do it as quickly as I can. But the first thing I have to say is that how the need for the proposed activity was identified. Just bear with me. I wish I could be there to see rolling of eyes, but I'll just keep going. The city of Belle Plaine has determined that CDBG DR funding assistance would be greatly beneficial in helping to create additional rental units in the community. The August 10th, 2020 derecho storm impacted housing availability throughout Iowa and more significantly in Benton County. Pardon me. This created even more pressure to build new rental or create new rental housing in the community. How the proposed project will be funded? The construction of the 5 rental housing units in Belle Plaine will be funded with $475,000 in CDBG DR funds and private developer funds of an estimated amount of $200,000. Developer is Brian Bach, and he is in the process. I think he had some construction folks there today to give him some estimates. So he is in the process of finishing up his estimates for the application, but he estimates it to be about $200,000 in addition to the $475 that we're applying for. This is a unique opportunity in that there is no requirement for local match. So, you know, the funds will come through the city, and the city will, ECOG will provide all the paperwork and provide the city the information and to cut the checks as the projects move through. But it does not require city dollars into the project. The application will be submitted online no later than January 12th, 2023 at 3 o'clock. The amount of the federal funds being requested is $475,000. 16% of the funds will benefit households with incomes at or below 80% of the area's median income. So in ECOG's 6-county area, Benton County has the second highest median income levels, only lower than Johnson County. And so Benton County, just to give you an idea of those amounts, a single person would qualify as low to moderate income if they had income of $50,400. And a 3-person household would qualify if they had income of $64,800. And a 4-person household would qualify as low to moderate income if they had household income of $72,000. And those amounts are adjusted every year. The proposed activity will renovate the upper story and rear of the Moore Building located at 712 Main Street in Belle Plaine. I have to say what the plans are to minimize displacement of persons and businesses, and I'm saying due to the project being new construction, because they do, since the rental units were empty long enough, this qualifies under the new construction because of that. So due to the project being new construction and because the residential units have not been lived in for years, more displacement is anticipated to occur. But even though I say that, I still have to say, what would we do if we had to displace someone? So I haven't shared this with the developer, but he's going to have to live with it. Any persons displaced as a result of this project will be asked to find housing that is lead safe and wish to relocate. The developer will reimburse anyone displaced as a result of the project for any housing costs and expenses that exceed their current housing costs for a period of time as required by federal regulations. And then the last thing I have to say as part of this, I have a second part to the public hearing, but the last part of this is the proposed activity. The upper story and rear of the Moore Building will be completely renovated to create 5 rental units. 3 of the 5 will be rented to low to moderate income households, and all units will be marketed for the first 4 months to rent to households who were derecho impacted. Okay?
Any questions, council? Continue.
Okay, so the second part of this, so if you guys have gotten CDBG funds before, you know that part of the requirement is that the federal, it comes down from the federal government, but the state makes us do is do a community development and housing needs assessment. And we have to, basically what we have to do is identify community development and housing needs for low to moderate income persons, community development and housing needs for the entire population of Belle Plaine, no matter the income level, and then to identify some planned or potential activities. So I believe Deanna in my department has gotten maybe some input from Kate. I'm not sure if Steve and maybe Sandy have also provided input. But what I want to do is just read what we have listed as the community development and housing needs of low to moderate income persons in your community. And of course, the first one we're going to say is increased opportunity for affordable rental units for low to moderate income renters. That would be the one we would put first because that's obviously one of the things we're doing. A second one is to prioritize rehab of the existing housing stock. She has down here as a note, 48% of your housing stock was built prior to 1939. and only 10% after 1990. And 41% of your owners in Belle Plaine are considered to be low to moderate income. So just thinking about, this is something that the state sometimes helps with is rehabilitation of existing housing stock. So is that what I'm looking for, is just affirmation that it's okay to keep that in there as a community development housing need for low to moderate income, this says.
You want us to vote on that?
You don't have to vote. You can just tell me yes, no. I don't need a vote necessarily, just input is what I'm looking for.
Any questions or input, council? Do we agree to their terms that this starts low to moderate income housing? Is offered to low to moderate income housing?
You're just trying to identify some needs of low to moderate income. It doesn't tie you to anything. It's just, that's one of the requirements they have you do, is try to identify some needs of low to moderate income. So one of them we've said is to increase rental unit, because that's what this project is doing. 3 of the 5 are for low to moderate income, so we need to have that in there to prioritize rehab of existing housing stock for homeowners. I don't know, she has in here an increased opportunity for home purchases for low to moderate income buyers. And I don't know if you want to keep that one in there.
I would say no, because we don't have a program that exists. We have a program that exists for rehabilitation of housing, but we don't have a program within our city government that helps people buy homes.
And you don't have to have a program necessarily, Mayor, just that, would you think it's a need or not?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's true. I won't get on my political stuff. Yes, I think that's true in Belle Plaine.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it there then, if that's okay.
Okay,
And then the last thing she has is affordability supported through zoning, permitting, and technical assistance. And just that, sometimes I've worked with cities who might look at some of their code stuff in order to help create housing opportunity in their communities. Now, this is the one, though, this one is in the low to moderate income section. It could also be one that we could just move to the community development and housing needs overall. Or we don't have to include it at all. That's up to you guys.
I would just keep it low to moderate for now.
Okay. All right. Okay, so then in the community development, does anybody have any other ones that they would want to list in the low to moderate community development and housing needs?
Anything from the council?
Nope.
Council says no, it's good to go.
Okay, next section is community development and housing needs for the overall community, no matter what the income level is. The first one I'm putting down is expanded owner-occupied and rental housing options to accommodate your existing population and future growth. I want to put that one first because it's directly talking about increasing rental options, housing options, and of course, 2 of these 5 units do not have to be rented to low to moderate income. So I want to make sure we include that. But the next thing is increased opportunities for economic development through efficient and well-maintained infrastructure. And I don't know about this part, and maybe Kate, you've already given input, and local workforce support through improved transportation and daycare options, as this further strengthens business and encourages continued community investment.
Well, I think those are all things that we definitely agree to. It's just we don't have active programs at them yet.
And that's okay, Mary, you don't have to. One of the things when I used to do this, I used to keep it very general. so that if cities were to apply to something or want to do something within the 2-year period that this was valid, that it was covered in it, so that they could point to it and say, we did identify it as a need, blah, blah, blah. So it's fine if you don't have programs, just that it could be a need that you have. The next one she's got down is expanded opportunity for recreational activities with opportunities for social and civic engagement.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last one I have down on my list is expanding, and I think this will be true for you guys because I remember Steve and I having a conversation between you and I, Mayor, within, I don't know, it's been a couple of years, but expanded housing options for those over age 65.
Yeah.
And just because.
And we've done that.
Okay.
So it
Do you
did.
still think it's a need, or do you think that you accomplished that?
I still think it's a need.
Okay. I mean, we all, as we age, and some of us are older than others, I acknowledge that. But as we age, our housing needs change, so. And then she's also got expanded, and that includes expanded rehab opportunities for those over 65. Like, being able to, if you need assistance in getting a bathtub out of your bathroom so that you can have a walk-in shower rather than, things like that. So are there other community development and housing needs you'd want me to list in this list for the community overall?
Kate, anything from you?
No, most of those came from me.
Okay. Anything from the council? I think you're covering what we think our needs
Okay.
are.
Okay, so then we're going to the planned or potential activities, and these have come from probably Kate and maybe Sandy, maybe Steve, and so I think these are things you're doing, and we have to identify whether it's a high, medium. Well, I would say if it's on this, it should be a high or medium activity. They could all be highs. Number one, what we're putting for high priority because we're doing it is apply for funding under the Community Development Block Grant DR program to increase housing options.
Yes.
Low to moderate income households.
Yes, that's high.
Okay, the next one is prioritize street, park, recreation, and public service improvements to make the best use of public dollars and provide amenities and opportunities to attract and retain residents. And under bullet point, she has continued to identify roads and bridges in need of repair and restoration from derecho, develop a plan to identify water quality solutions, develop a plan to identify opportunities for innovative daycare solutions, and continue to identify opportunities to expand recreation activities. Did I name anything there that you've already accomplished and we don't need to include?
No, those are things that we are working on, things we'll continue to work on, and so that should go down as a high mark.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, next thing. Continue, the next priority thing, number 3, is continue with phase 2 of the downtown master plan and the expansion of upper story opportunities in the central business district.
High, yes.
Okay. The next one is update and review goals and identify other capital improvement projects to establish or expand services enhancing public safety and ensuring services are provided at affordable rates for persons, especially those of low to moderate income.
Still high.
Okay. Are there any other planned activities you would like me to put on here?
No, I think you've hit all of them.
Okay.
Steve, if you got anything you want to add to that list.
Tracy, do you have any other examples?
Through all the ones I have.
Okay, I think that's a comprehensive list.
Yeah, I do think it's a pretty comprehensive one. I was in a community in Lynn County and I hadn't put anything about daycare and I was embarrassed because I knew the community was having daycare issues. So it includes a lot of things. It's talking about your roads, your bridges, and daycare and downtown, and so it includes a lot of stuff. So that, Mayor, concludes what I have to do in the public hearing portion of your meeting tonight.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple of questions. On any of these documents where you use the address and then the term Main Street,
Yeah,
are you gonna go back and change that to 12th Street? The correct
I
address.
can.
The correct address for that building is 12th Street, not Main Street. Actually doesn't legally exist in the city of Belle Plaine, even though we probably use it at City Hall 50 times a day.
Okay. Well, I have to say, I thought when Kate told me the address, I thought I had written it down wrong because it was 712. So when I looked it up, I think it said 712 Main Street. So that was the reason I used it, because I thought I did write it down wrong. So
Wow.
I'll have to change all the documents that have, so Sandy, I'll have to change all of them that I have it on to 12th Street, okay?
Because it's a federal document, I'd rather be 100% correct, especially when my name's gonna get signed to the bottom of this.
Yeah, Mayor, I would not want to submit a document with the wrong address.
Well, I don't want to spend the rest of my retirement at Fort Leavenworth. I prefer to do it in Belle Plaine. And then you are removing that one item out of there that said Atkins and replacing it with Belle Plaine,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
remove that
That's
city,
already done.
okay, and remove that city-owned hotel building. That is,
Yeah,
it's not a
that's
hotel.
already done as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And that document, the fair housing document and the minority statement, I just really provided because I have to, those are two things I have to submit with the application that are not like specifically project related, like not based on, Brian will have to provide me about 15 things to go in with the application. But those are things not really that's, the project specific. So I wanted to make sure and have you at least see what it is. The fair housing plan, what will happen is if you get funded, then I'll be back after you're awarded. And then along with a contract with BC-COG, then you'll also be officially adopting that fair housing plan.
Okay.
And as I said in my email, the things that the things that I think are important about it, a lot of it's verbiage this state requires us to put in. But the thing that I think is important is that, yes, you agree to put up a poster about fair housing. Yes, someone is going to attend a fair housing training, which might be a 2-hour training, something like that.
That'll be Steve. He's got his hand up over here already.
Okay, all right. So anyway, that is nothing too onerous, but it is. But I'll be, if you get funded, then I'll be back in front of council with that document to be adopted. I just didn't want it to be a surprise when I came back and said, okay, now I submitted this with your app. This is what you need to adopt. So anyway, that's it, Mayor.
Okay. So the rest of the public hearing here is in our hands with the two resolutions.
Yeah, the resolutions do not have, aren't really part of they don't have to be part of the public hearing.
Okay.
The resolutions will be outside. You can close the public hearing if you want and then go on with the resolutions, however you want to do it.
Well, I'm gonna ask, go ahead.
No, just that they don't have to be part of the public hearing.
I'm gonna ask if the public has any comments on it. And if not, Kate, would you like to just address the council on how you got us involved with this? Just tell them what you've been doing to get this whole thing started.
So I've worked
And
with,
maybe a little bit about our developer, because
so Brian Bach is our developer. I've done 2 other projects with him. One in Schulzburg, one in Atkins. He saved us on a Catalyst grant project. So where Cranky Hank's Pizza is in Schulzburg, he did the whole renovation there. And then the Atkins Tap House, he just finished that up this spring. I think it was this spring. I don't know. It all goes. And that was a Catalyst project as well. He's super easygoing, fun to work with. Most importantly, he does really great work. And so I knew that we've kind of been back and forth because we do have the Catalyst grant sitting on this particular building, and we've kind of flip-flopped through owners a couple times, and I finally pinned Steve down and I said, what are we doing here? Because I was more concerned about the deadline for the Catalyst approaching. And we were able to talk to the former owner and kind of come to an agreement that it was time to maybe try to find someone else. So I reached out to Brian, and the timing of all this, luckily for Tracy, because we came in at the 11th hour on this grant application, but we've worked through it pretty quickly. So that's kind of how it all happened. And he took possession today, so it was a quick situation. He's really excited to be here, so we're looking forward to it. Do you have any questions for me about it?
How long has he been doing this type of work, and is it his primary occupation?
It isn't. He's been a financial advisor for about 30 years for Collins Community Credit Union. I don't know that he's been there the whole time, but that's where he's currently employed. And he's been doing this for about 7 to 10 years, just a little project here and there. So he's done a large project in Cascade, which is probably the biggest project he's done, which is where Happy Joe's Pizza is in that building, and I don't remember what all is in there, but huge project there. So, and he's worked with the state. He has a great relationship with the state. In fact, he just was a presenter at their fair housing conference that they had this fall. So he's got a great relationship with those people, which is good because they like to fund him because they know he gets the job done and does good work. So,
Well, it's good to know that he's been in this game for 7 to 10 years.
yeah, I think it's just kind of like a little hobby. He lives in Solon. He hasn't, the work that he's done, he finds good opportunities in communities, and that's kind of how he operates. He doesn't care that it's, in his hometown. He really likes rural Iowa. So I said, today we've got you into a third of Benton County. So where are we going next? So yeah, he's excited to be here, and he's super easy to work with. So I'm looking forward to it.
So we got any questions for Kate? And if we don't realize, she's been an economic development director, and for all practical purposes, she's been economic development, period.
Yeah.
The rest of us just follow along with me. So I was excited that she found a developer. And remember, besides what we're doing tonight, there's a $100,000 grant we already have on.
Yeah.
It's going to be applied.
So we're going to kind of let this part play out. And then I intend to work with Sandy on that in the state. Jim Thompson, who heads up the Catalyst grant, he's already aware that we've kind of been in a transition with that building. Actually, that grant has never been transferred over to the second owner of the building. So we're just going to bypass that part and just go right to the third owner. And then we will have to do a little bit of just like re-summarizing the project, because the scope of work will change a bit, because the initial grant, if you remember, was for both upper and lower. There was a project for both, but that will switch to the focus being solely on the lower levels with that 100,000. So
I'm glad you were able to keep that going.
yeah, because that expires in June. He doesn't anticipate needing an extension, which is awesome. But we do have that ability if needed, and typically it's a 1-year extension, even when you do a transfer of a new owner. But I don't foresee a problem at all with that. So, and we don't want to lose that because it just looks bad on our end from the state side. So
Any other questions for the council?
How soon will we know if we get this grant?
is Tracy someone? I think
They originally had, the original, the date was, the due date was December 30th, and it actually has worked out well for Bell Plain and Brian, I would say.
Yes.
Because the state updated their, they installed a new computer system for all of their grants, and they're having issues with it. I can't actually go in and enter some of the information well, I can enter all I want, but it doesn't save, so I quit doing that. But, so they moved the due date now to January 12th. They're expecting then, they really want to make awards as fast as possible because that would allow us, as soon as they make those awards, we can move forward. And I have to do an environmental review and things like that. And so they want to be able to make the awards as soon as they can so that construction can start right away. So I think we'll know, I'm going to guess by mid-February we'll know.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions, council?
Which is exciting because the other things we've applied for, it's like 6-month waiting period. So,
Okay, if there's no questions from the council and there's no comments from the public, I'm gonna close the public section of the meeting. It's now closed. And I'll move the council on to Resolution 22-1202, a resolution authorizing and directing the East Central Iowa Council of Governments to submit application and associated documents for funding for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Derecho Housing Program to the Iowa Economic Development Authority. So basically, it's a resolution authorizing or ordering EasyCog to go ahead and represent us in applying for this. Questions? If there's no questions or comments, I will accept a motion on that one.
I move to approve resolution 22-1202, authorizing and directing EasyCog to submit an application and associated documents for the CDBG DR housing program.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I move you to item B, discuss for possible approval resolution 22-1203, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a service agreement with EasyCog for the CDBG drive application preparation and for the administration and project delivery of the CDBG DR grant if awarded. Again, doing exactly what it says, putting us to work with EasyCog, and as you know in the past, EasyCog has done a number of grant items with us, including our current one on the sewer project, so we're familiar with working with them. So is there any questions on that or comments to that one? I'm looking for a motion then.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22-1203, authorizing the mayor to sign a service agreement with EasyCog for the CDBG DR application preparation.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And then I put the last one in because there's all this other stuff that's in there, and I think this will come back to us, but I just would rather at this point in time that we authorize those documents for the city of Belle Plaine, including anything dealing with fair housing and outreach plan, minority impact statement, and contractors information document, that they go ahead and begin work on those. Not that you will probably have those documents back in your hands to individually agree to them. I just don't want any hold up on that, especially as we go through vacation time here. And that's normal federal stuff.
Yeah, and there's not, as I said before, it's not the minority impact. They just asked me, and then because I'm submitting your app, I'm certifying that, yeah, I think it would have I have to say if the project will have a positive or a negative or no impact on minorities, and minorities includes women and older people. And so because those two groups can sometimes represent lower income, and we have 3 of them that are that way, then I think I'm saying in the minority impact statement that it's possible it will have a positive impact on those groups. And because I have to sign it, I just wanted you to know that's what I was putting in your app. There's, so, and then the housing plan, as I said before, I'll be back. If you get funded, I will be back, and you'll have to adopt it prior to the, in the process, like when you get your agreement from IEDA for your grant, and you have the contract with DCCOG and a few other things, and one of the things will be to adopt the fair housing plan. So I just wanted you to know what it was in advance of that.
And that's why I'm asking you guys to pass a motion that everything she answers for us, we're accepting. Be my name will be on it, so.
I
So,
move to approve that everything that she answers for us, whatever the rest of it said.
is there a sec,
That leaves me really wide open, because I can change city clerks' names, I can change addresses and properties.
we're on TV, don't be saying that stuff. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 4-0. That closes the whole thing over this block grant material tonight. Tracy, do you have anything else you want to tell the council before I let you go?
No, just have great holidays and be safe here in these days to come.
We'll do that, and our snow crew's sitting down at the shop with gun and engines ready to plow, so we'll be good to
All
go
right.
tomorrow.
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay, thank you very much, you guys, and thanks, Kate,
Thank
because
you.
she's done all the grunt work, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy. Bye.
I just want to add too, because I forgot to mention this, but these apartments, when Dave mentioned earlier that they're being gutted, like they're literally to the bare bones studs. So everything's going to be brand new in the upper level, lower level. He's guesstimating that when this is all said and done with the grant money, it's going to be about $1 million restoration of this building. So it's pretty exciting for the community, I think.
Are there 4 upper and 1?
There's 4 upper and 1 lower in the back half, which is up to code by the state guidelines to be in the back half of.
And they will all have parking in the back,
Yeah.
so we won't have a
So,
problem or a hassle with. our
In fact,
city code
he's
there.
creating entrance from the backside so that they'll be able to go through the back and not have to park behind and walk around type of thing. So, and then the lower level to be determined what's going in there, but we have a few ideas up our sleeves. Could be 1, could be 2. But the building's big enough to do 2, but could be a really big
But
building.
she
for
told
1.
me I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut on what's being discussed, so it'll be a positive maneuver on.
Absolutely. So, anyway, that's all I have, I think.
Anything else?
Thank you for all
Yeah.
your work.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Kate.
you bet. It's
Thank
been
you
a
for
fun one.
coming tonight.
Yeah,
Uh,
you bet.
Does Gus need a candy cane?
No?
Sure. Give you a little energy so you won't have to go to bed so early.
He's too shy.
Can't imagine him shy.
He walked in the schoolroom. Freedom! When he walked in the door, I was like, oh boy, it's gonna be a long couple weeks. So, awesome. Get your water. Thank
All right,
you,
anyone
guys.
on the council want a candy cane before I move on?
Sure.
I got Sour Patches and Jolly Ranchers. You can get one at the end. Agenda item number 7, Lance is out sick, so cross that one off. We aren't going to closed session tonight, are we?
No, but I do have a little report to give at the end, so.
Okay, well, that's no problem. We'll throw out closed session. So you can throw out 21, 22. Send those down. And 23, so you won't be in closed session. So there, I just started cutting some of your agenda for you, and I knew that was gonna be long, so. Corey, are you ready to give your first Belle Plaine Community Development?
I sure am. Hello, everybody. Good evening. So we'll start off with the holiday homecoming that we had after Thanksgiving, and it went pretty good, had a very good turnout for the Shop Small Saturday. The committees got along really great and, worked together, got stuff done, had a good time together. A good turnout with volunteers. And then Santa's Workshop, that was a hit. It was down in the CDC office this year instead of where it has been. And so it kind of got simplified this year, and it went over really good. They had about like 125-ish kids or so, and had cookies and Santa Claus and 2 face painters. It was like packed in there the whole time. So everything was really good, and everybody's excited about next year, the ideas they get to bring. So there is that. And then we'll move on to Preston's gas station. Mary Preston and Gary, I forget his last name, met with us, with the board, this Belle Plaine CDC board. She wanted to meet with us to let us know her plans and her ideas and visions for restoring Preston Station. She came ready. So had a real nice layout for us to just look through, and she went through it all. Real good presentation. So her and her husband had moved back in 2017. She's a 4th generation Preston. So basically what happens is they're looking for ideas for possible sources for securing funds. It's like some grants you kind of have to have matching, I'm not sure how you explain that yet. So just securing the funds. So we went over that with her, gave her some ideas, and we'll be staying in touch with her to see how things are going. And if we get more ideas and stuff, we'll definitely keep in touch. And just been kind of out and about, just visiting a little bit with people, and I got to meet Doug Stout, the BP owner, BP Bowl. He bought the BP Bowl. So I got to go in there. Steve and I did. We got to look around a little bit and just see. It's way different than what I remember. But that guy is real excited about rehabbing it. He's had, several different ideas. We'll see what he sticks with. And then other than that, we're gearing up for our investment drive coming the new year. So basically hoping everybody has a great holiday season, and then coming back with a fresh start and ready to go. And that's what we got.
We have questions, council?
I have a comment for the holiday homecoming parade. I don't know if this is appropriate now. It was fantastic, but safety wise, maybe we should look at closing Main Street. Because when we were doing the tree lighting, I was on 12th Street and 9th Avenue, and cars were trying to leave. And I just see that as a major safety hazard.
We talked already about for certain blocking off at least one side for sure.
Okay.
Probably we can talk about both sides, but because it's cold weather with older people, we may still want a side to park, but we may have to explain to folks, you're stuck there until we clear that intersection, and we may need to have more city workers and development people down there to just do some traffic control. You're right, I noticed that too.
Yeah, it was kind of scary.
And we probably need to get a microphone down there so that we can properly introduce Santa, so Santa can. And now that I have clear look at the outlet box, so I know what I put the prongs into, and not trying to get my phone flashlight to go on, we'll be in good shape. But it'd be nice to get Santa out there in the crowd, because there were a lot of kids came over and wanted their picture taken with Santa, which I hadn't seen that in the past. So maybe if we get a microphone down there, but we've already had some discussions on that, but you're right, that we've got to do something with. But no, and part of it's good weather and a big crowd,
Mhm.
and that's a plus.
Really good crowd.
I walked-
It was really nice.
I walked from over by the BP with another family from, I think, Brooklyn or Amana. There was a couple families I was walking with, and they were pretty excited about coming here.
So I think we've hit the right weekend to do it on. Because I see a whole lot of others, they're cramming them in here between Thanksgiving weekend, they're doing them now, and you see 2 or 3 small communities all doing theirs on the same. So yes, I get that echoed back to the board that we thought it was a good job. And anything we can do as a council, or anything I can do as mayor or my city administrator to help make your job easier, just let us know.
All right, thank you very much.
And eventually, we're gonna wanna get you to a Bent development meeting, so that you meet people from other communities that are involved in economic development. And of course, you have an advantage. Kate's already snuck off, but, her office is just down the block. We're fortunate that Bent Development is in Belle Plaine. That's not,
I agree.
the president did not want it here, and I'm the president, so I'm the one that wanted to push it into Van Horn, but we couldn't find a place. And I looked, Kate said she wasn't gonna redo a bar in Blairstown, and that became available, and it's a cheap price, and I didn't even realize there were offices back there. So it's an advantage to the city, to our development, the city of Belle Plaine, Bent Development's here. It makes it easier for Kate to go to work, because she just hop, skip, and a jump. And now that we're not in a coalition with Iowa County, and thank God, because then we would have been tied into that mess in Marengo. And Bent Development actually made loud noises about maybe it shouldn't bring that company into your community. So there are some important things our development groups do for us, and Kate was the one who researched that in detail and said, warn Marengo and Iowa County that you better be careful. Any questions for us?
No, I'm good.
Well, I know the weather's getting bad. You live out of town, so feel free to slip out of here if
right.
you want.
Thank you. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, you too.
Happy New Year.
Okay, Bruce, you're up at the Belle Plaine Municipal Airport. And I think there's a handout there for each one.
Somebody dropped one.
Oh, that was mine. Thank you.
Okay, we talked, first presentation was what the airport was physically, and then talked about where the money comes from. And tonight, I want to talk about capital improvement program. Probably the very first one, every year, we're supposed to capital improvement plan, forward one, but there's always been some kind of ridiculous pipe dream. We do have a master plan for the airport that was created a long time ago, but any development off of that would be extremely expensive. And pretty much, I've always considered it ridiculous and a pipe dream. So this one here, what you have on that first page, is a layout, which would be the first proposed construction that I confirmed, I would not confirm, but I would say that this is a something that's fairly firm as an idea to do, and it would occur construction-wise in a couple of years. But looking at that first page, what we're proposing to do is run a taxiway over from the where the present taxiway goes down to the runway down to the lower right-hand corner of that page. You can see the white highlighted white. That's all new construction, and that would go over to the present driveway. Turn that driveway into a taxiway. That would allow hangar space on either side of that, to the north, to the east, and even some to the west of that. And of course, you can't have a taxiway also be a driveway. That's called big conflict. So we have to,
Trouble.
yeah, so we'd have to have a new driveway, and that's for the top of the page, colored in white, and that would be the proposed new driveway. All of this construction, including some lights there, would be about $550,000. And of course, everything in this CIP that for the next 5 years and actually on into the future is proposed to be funded with that 90-10 matching. Although that's, to my mind, not ideal, but it's what we're going to go with just for now, thinking that this first page is a pretty firm idea. It's what we do with creating hangars is that we got to really start to noodle out. And that's the second page. Okay, so the second page shows highlight kind of right there next to the SRE building, which is the snow removal equipment building. Dead in the center of the page, you see some white. That's an apron which sits just below two proposed, I'll call them notional 42 by 42 foot box hangars. But that would be funded by the FAA. And just that project would be $700,000, which is nuts. But there are other ideas, but I don't want to get into them tonight. So it's something that can fill the space and the plan. So this is, more jello in nature. Also, I want to point out that this area where they show some hangars being developed, it's not only government-funded hangars that can be built there. There is the opportunity to build privately, and typically on a federally funded airport like ours, are the NIPIAS, National Plan for Integrated Airport System. The FAA, that kind of building is perfectly fine, has to meet some minimum standards that we can set and that they approve. But the thing is, the land that you lease below them, they want a limit, a time limit. So the way it works out is a person privately builds a hangar, and 40, 50 years down the road, he relinquishes that hangar to the sponsor being the city. They now own it. So, so that you lose some enthusiasm, but when people start putting pen to pencil, a pencil to paper, they kind of go, well, that's not so bad. So, for example, down in Ankeny, they've got, I think, four or five privately built hangars going up right now, and they use a 50-year timeline for their leases. So let's move on to the next page. The next page lays out the projects. You can see right now we're in, we'll be coming up the next year highlighted in yellow. There's nothing there. At the top, he's got the fiscal year, which goes from July 1st, 23 to June 1st, 24. The next year, there's some work that needs to be done in planning, and it's the following year that the runway and driveway project would happen. And then right below that, it shows the construction of the box hangars. First year there's planning, and then the next year's actual construction. And then below that, there's some runway and taxiway rehabilitation, and then apron rehabilitation going on simultaneously in those years. And then the last page lays out, it kind of shows the timeline on when you have to be prepared to do things. And it shows not only the fiscal year, but what the calendar year is. So I find it kind of handy to look at. So since I think it's not really necessary for me to go any further because in the next presentation, I want to talk about some pretty serious implications on this plan and maybe some alternatives to the plan, mainly centering on that hangar construction idea. So I'd really like you to kind of take some time on your own to look this stuff over, kind of get a good grasp of it, in your mind on what's going on, because eventually a decision is going to have to be made to move ahead with this or not. So, anybody have any questions right now?
What is our need for hangars?
The
Are
main
our
objective.
current ones full now, or I
Yes.
mean, is that
Yes.
something?
Yes,
Okay.
our current hangars are full, but I'll freely admit, I really don't have a waiting list.
Uh-huh.
And waiting lists at, big airports, they exist and they can get to be even 10 years long.
Mhm.
Our main objective in building some hangars is to allow us the possibility of making sure we get our 10 airplane census. Because with 6 Ts and a main hangar, it's only because I have 3 airplanes and another guy has 2 that we can get to 10. And you shouldn't count on that.
Mhm.
So that would be the main reason to do this. It's not that people are beating down the door, wanting to hangar here.
Mhm.
That's not the case. But we need hangar space. In other words, to get to that 10 airplane threshold and maintain it. So, good
And
question.
his thought is planning possibly a community hangar where we could have a bigger box one with no heat in it.
Yeah, there's
that we
different
could put
alternatives. Yeah.
Multiple planes in and rent the spacing.
Do you see a need for, like you said, that there can be a waiting list? Like, can we go out to another community or people that do fly and say, "Hey, we have space,"
Yeah,
and that they would come here, or I guess how
try
does
and
that
rob
work?
them from a different airport.
Yeah.
In the aviation community, the general aviation community is fairly small, and everybody knows what's going on around. I advertise when we have a hangar come up. I will advertise that hangar space, and in 10 years, I've had a couple, 3. Most of it is just people calling out of the blue, saying because, well, I say we don't have a demand for hangar space here. Other places do have it. And sometimes it's a case of somebody will hangar here for a short period of time while they're waiting for a hangar to open up in Cedar Rapids or Iowa City, something like that. So, any other questions?
I think it's important to note, Mary and I came to the council. The airport was a disaster. We were hemorrhaging money down there. We had no gasoline or no aviation fuel to sell. We had tanks that were just bombs sitting there. And it was a disaster, and we were paying somebody $1,500 a month to pretty much do nothing. Bruce got on the airport committee, and in fact, the first January I was mayor, I was taken to an airport committee meeting. And Bruce gave quite a presentation on a couple jars of aviation fuel that I thought was green smuck. And he's done a heck of a job along with Holsworth being our main hangar, Brenner down there in the main hangar, taking an airport and making it a financial solvent part of it. If we were still throwing $1,500 a month out in pay and hemorrhaging everything else down there, we'd be wondering if we shouldn't turn it into, I don't know, needed dragway south and running cars on it on Sundays
Maybe when
or?
they get to electric ones. Don't want that kind of noise down there. The airplanes are bad enough.
So I just want in office was, what are you gonna do about the airport? And I remember sitting in Kyoto before I ever moved back here, reading arguments between the president of the airport commission and the city council arguing with each other at every meeting. And I'm going, well, this is interesting. So I just think Bruce has got good ideas, good plans, and got a plan for the future. And that's why we've been having him come in and let the council know what goes on down there. It's more than that one pancake breakfast a year and more than the spraying going down there. So, no, I want us to understand what a good job he's done too. So thank you for coming in,
Thank you.
Bruce.
Thank you.
Have a very Merry Christmas.
You too.
Let's move on to the next agenda item, discuss for possible approval machinery purchases for the city. Jay, you want to go through this with them, come up to the podium and just explain what you got here and what you want the council to approve tonight.
Okay, so we end up, like we talked last meeting, about trading in the 621 on a skid loader. So the prices on that have stayed the same. I think you guys got copies of it. Okay. And then our issue was buying 3 pieces of attachments for it. Titan come back with a quote of 19,000 for the 3 pieces. Well, that was over our 14,878 return we got coming. So I went to Star and I ended up getting a quote there of the 3 pieces. The only thing that is not new is the jackhammer, and that come to 14,290. So we come in under the 14,878, and so I'm just looking for an approval, I guess. Are there questions or?
So do you want to get it from Titan or from Star?
Star.
You want to go from Star?
Well, approve the deal on the skid loader from Titan and then approve the appliances, whatever we call these things,
Attachments.
attachments from Star.
So you want a motion to what you're asking for?
Yeah,
I make a motion to approve the machinery purchases that Jay Hamilton explained of the Titan Machinery skid loader, and then purchasing 3 attachments from Star Equipment.
Are there any questions? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's moved in second. Any questions? I appreciate Jay doing all this work and hunting all this stuff down.
We, on another note, we got rid of them 2 trucks, and I think you know the numbers on it. The Chevy was 2,900.
That was the older one, right?
Yeah, the 71, and the International, I believe we got 58,
5850.
50. So pretty really happy with that.
Our developer was on the bidding of the dump truck, but it went too high for his taste.
It went to Jessup's where that went, and then the Chevy's going to Minnesota. So we definitely got out there.
And the fire truck's going nice.
Bellplain or Blairstown?
Blairstown.
Blairstown.
So we've done pretty good.
All right.
Thank you, Jay.
I got it moved and seconded to make these purchases. Any further questions on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, Jay.
Well, we
I-
need to thank Sandy too, because she's gotta
I
slow
wish
you
we
down
had
once in a
this.
while.
I wish when will we get the skid load?
It was transported to Case last week, and he thought I might have it by the end of the week. week, but with the weather, I don't foresee it happening probably.
So when will the snow bucket show up?
But, yeah,
Tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Oh, shoot.
Well, we'll have more toys to play with at the next snowstorm. All right, let's move to number 11, discuss for possible approval of business incentive grant, commercial exterior and area acquisition assistant grant for net nannies at 802 12th Street, Belle Plaine. Steve, I'll let you add, say, or make any comments to the council on this particular. What's the total? Oh, I think I've got your word sheet in here, right?
Yeah, it's on the third page.
So how much is the commercial exterior? Is that 3292?
Yes.
And how much is the acquisition? grant?
$495.
Questions, council?
We
Did-
had the paperwork for the exterior grant, but there wasn't anything included in our packet for the acquisition grant. Was that any of any consequence, or you had received that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that wasn't included. We have that support doc for you.
Okay.
And you said
So
that
they-
was 495.
Yeah, half of it. So this building is a diamond in the rough. Sarah and her husband are doing some great work there. They had some emergency work they had to do on the exterior because the roof was very bad shape. And it was critically compromised. It was falling in. So they acted quickly on it. And the way this all is gonna kind of work out, thought it would be better for them to kind of go in phases and get this grant and then go for the interior grant next.
Their repair guy went up the ladder today. More power equipment on his tool belt than I've ever seen anyone where he had a saw on one side of it and a drill on the other side with the batteries on. And what was it he dropped when he got on the roof? His phone, or his phone started buzzing? I've never seen anybody carry that much power equipment attached to their belt.
Do you have anything to add?
I was just gonna say, I apologize that I know the application is laid out to have, it sent in before the work was done, but when we got the building, there was, running water in the northeast corner, so right behind the city hall here, and, that needed to be addressed. The ceiling support boards had completely deteriorated because there had been so much water damage inside, so there was nothing holding that northeast corner up. And we had a couple roof people come and look at it, local people that were not familiar with the type of roof it had because it just has the rubber membrane instead of being a metal roof or anything like that. So I tracked down the company that did the upper portion 8 years ago. And he came and looked at it and said that he still had the same recommendations for the lower part, just the one-story part on the back, as he did 8 years ago. They had not taken any action on that part at that time. So he did not think he would originally be able to do it until December. He had a cancellation in October, and so we just had him come and do it because it was so bad. He finished the day before it rained 3.5 inches. And it was completely dry back there and has been dry ever since. So, and as far as a little bit of the money was spent on the window, signage on the windows outside, and that was also something that needed to be done before it got too cold. There's a temperature threshold before those can't be put on any longer, and so that's why that was also done before the application was sent in, both of those exterior things.
She's really, they're saving this building. It really needed that back terribly badly. So she's gonna be a little offbeat on the grant cycles, the way things are hitting, but they're really
That needed to
putting,
be addressed before we could do anything else. And a lot of the brickwork in that bathroom was down to just one layer with daylight coming through it as well. So we needed to take care of that before some of the other things that are gonna come down the road.
Well, I'm glad to see we've got a good business
Thank you.
moving into saving an existing building.
we're
That
excited.
will be a good corner building, and I think it'll put you in a good spot, so.
Yeah.
And I can't tell them how to vote, but we have been flexible with approving grants that sometimes get done out of sequence because of just what you said.
Sure.
Sometimes the condition of the building doesn't cooperate with our grant terms.
I appreciate that.
and we talked about that, and I was like, I think the best is yet to come for the building with the
Yeah.
interior stuff. So they're gonna be doing some of that, but this was, I know it's out of sequence, but we talked about it. We thought that was the best way to go.
Is there a motion to approve this grant application? Or is there further question?
I have a question about the building itself, not about her grant, so is this the proper time or not to ask this question?
Go ahead.
The previous owner, did we not give them a grant, exterior grant to do some work on this building?
I don't think they got I don't think they had exterior grant. Maybe it might have been an interior grant.
Okay.
I think she's right.
Okay, I just thought maybe the previous owner was supposed to do some roof repairs.
They had, so the front, if I may, the front from the parapet down was peeling off, like the front facade.
Uh-huh.
So they had to have that physically screwed back, bolted back to the roof trusses of the building
Uh-huh.
because the facade's like a freestanding structure
Mhm.
and it's loosely tied in with the sidewalls. And it had broken because of the way the roof was let go for so long. And the building's great, but for a long time, the roof leaked upstairs too. The whole roof was leaking. They had pools, kiddie pools all over the place.
Mhm.
So as that freezes and thaws, that brick just,
And that's why I thought that the previous owner was doing something with the roof, is because of what you just stated with the kiddie pools and stuff.
so that was the front facade. Because the upstairs, the top did have a new roof 8 years ago, but the parapet, the top part of it had leaked in between. So it was more of a front of the building problem.
I was just more concerned if we're using, not her, but previous owners using grants for what we give them grants for. Is where I was going with that question.
Right.
Do we have any follow-up, based on what you were just saying, it's a good point. Do we have any follow-up once we approve these grants, that we go back and make sure that the work that that we've given the money to do has been done?
Renaissance
They don't
Restoration.
Get the money up front. They don't get the money for
That's true.
projects.
Right. So but to your point, Renaissance Restoration had taken, I can't remember the exact term off the top of my head, I'm on the spot, but if you look up there, you'll see medallions where they took it and bolted it back in, and then they tuck pointed the whole corner to seam it back together, because when you were inside the building, you could actually see daylight cracked from the floor to the ceiling.
How long ago was that Renaissance did that? Like 2 years?
Yeah, something like that. It was nice weather, I know that. It wasn't, I think it was probably in 21. I don't recall off the top of my head. If I start digging in my computer, the YouTube will shut off. Otherwise, I can get that pulled up. This thing.
And generally, to answer your question, that is done by control of the clerk's office and sending the city administrator to take a look at see if what they're doing is what they're supposed to. So did I get a motion or did?
I think I interrupted you.
I'll take a motion now.
I move to approve the business incentive grant, commercial exterior and area acquisition assistance for Nettie Ann's.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. You got your
Thank
grants.
you very much.
Thank you. for
Thank
coming.
you.
I'm gonna take off because I have to sell the cow.
Yep,
So
yep,
have a
go.
Merry Christmas.
Yep, thank you, you too.
All right, moving along. We are on to housing inspection reports. Let's go to 306 Sixth Avenue. And the red, I believe, is the new one. Final part of the inspector's report says items 1, 2, and 3 are completed satisfactory. The home is habitable, and that's item 1 was a dual sensor smoke detector needs to be installed in the living room outside the bedroom. 2, an extension tube needs to be installed on the water heater. It shall be 3/4 inches inside diameter, extending blah, 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 blah. PVC plastic is used for it. It needs to be strapped and placed near the bottom of the extension tube. And 3, the S-trap drain in the bathroom sink is still in. Would like to see it converted to a P-trap configuration with a mechanical air vent for maximum protection of keeping sewer gas out of the home. The owner stated Even Plumbing stated the current configuration is okay and will not allow sewer gases into the home. If this is not correct, then Even Plumbing needs to state this in writing to the owner so he can submit it to the city of Belle Plaine. So based on those things, I think we should approve this and then.
These are all complete. Everything's complete.
Everything's complete?
Yeah, I have photos
Okay.
or digital images.
Okay, my question is how about, the soaring being to the floor joists?
Well, the inspector recommended that additional shoring be added. And if this wasn't done, they should be monitored periodically. So it sounds like the inspector
Okay,
framed it that way.
but my question for that is why is the inspector doubling down now when this had to be fixed by the previous owner on the original inspection?
We'll let you answer that, Steve.
When I talked to Mike about it, I don't know, I could get back to you on that one. When he went through
If we're
it,
gonna do this, we've got to do this equally to everybody. And if Enos had to have these stuff fixed to continue to keep that house up, so does our new guy.
when I said the things that had been completed, I was referring to the ones
Yeah,
that
the three items.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
We don't know what the inspector would have done if Enos would have fixed a lot of things. But he kind of, I mean, he gave him the out on this. He may have done that for Enos if Enos had done as much improvement as Rusty has.
But even with that, was still an issue for Enos. And Enos had to get it fixed. But it's still an issue for Rusty because it's not fixed.
Well, then you guys have the right to reject this and tell Rusty that joist has to be fixed to our satisfaction, or we won't approve the inspection.
Well, I don't want to get into I don't want to say favoritism thing, but if we're gonna have homes inspected and they have to meet the standards of what the inspector says, it has to be that way equally, whether, if somebody's just tired of it and sells it to somebody else, or whatever it may be. We have to hold those standards to the new owner as well.
But we don't know what the inspector would have said about this particular topic if Enos had done the rest of the list. I mean, I agree that it kind of surprised me that he gave him an out, but we don't know if he would have done the same for Enos or not, because Enos didn't do any of the,
Yeah, Enos did nothing to it.
right.
Right.
So we don't know if Enos had done improvements per the inspector's recommendations, if we got to this point that the inspector wouldn't have said the same thing.
I think that
But we're not talking about Enos now.
page 9 of this report, I think, shows the,
So we're just wondering why he changed his decision from needing to repair them joists to now it's okay. We'll just keep an eye on them. I would agree. I would want to know why he changed his mind on that. You know, what makes that
In
okay?
that first paragraph that you read, the inspector does say that, although the sagging floor joists and added shoring has not been improved upon, no signs of failure or change was noticeable on them. So maybe he was looking at this and saying, well, it's not getting any worse, but you need to keep an eye on it. But I totally understand what you're saying. When was that first inspection?
March 10th? No, that was the second one.
First
Oh,
one,
a year ago. The first one was, yeah, July 8th of 21. So in a year and a half, it hasn't gotten any worse. That's how I read what he's saying here. And then also one could ask, well, if we okay this, then we're saying that it should be, the floor joist should be monitored periodically, and who's gonna do that? Are you gonna pay the inspector to go in again and keep checking and so on? Or whose job is it to monitor it?
well, we don't have the city code to have a city inspector that inspects rental property.
He does say that it's recommended that additional shoring be added.
I think if you look at the, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, I mean, if we go off of all of his other recommendations of when the house is rehabbed, then maybe that should be one thing that is addressed.
Well, the way he did it really was disappointing because it gave the guy an out.
So
It looks like, if I have not been in this building, I've not been in this basement. This is on the original, but I have photographs of the things that were
right here
improved
on
upon.
this one, okay.
So right after Sarah's, there's a building report for this one. It looks like, to me, the joist, and I'm not trying to give an opinion here, I'm just showing, letting you know what I see. The joists where they would attach to the rim joist look like they have a beam underneath of them, and then another secondary 4x4 with the red arrows pointing to that. So that beam goes underneath the floor joist, and then that's there where he would probably want to put an additional 4x4 there on the other end of that.
Yeah,
So
'cause
that
he's saying-
third floor joist is tied in.
Because he's saying improper shoring, red arrows and sagging joists, yellow arrows and northwest basement.
It looks
Whatever
like the
that is.
joists might be 2x6s, and it looks like they're kind of on 24-inch centers.
The other thing we can do too is actually have the inspector on the phone or question him on his recommendations for this particular property. We want to set this one aside for until next meeting. And then I'm sure he'd be more than willing to explain his report, that way instead of guessing what he thought or.
Sure.
Let's do that one. Set 1306 Sixth Avenue aside. And we'll get Mike on the phone at the next meeting.
I'll have to get a hold of these guys because I think they were listing it.
Yeah, they,
Well,
So I'll tell them
tomorrow,
tomorrow.
there's a problem with the inspection, and until the council talks with the inspector, it didn't pass. It's being held up.
what happened to number 3? Did they?
Page 3 or
No, item
number
3.
3. Did they
The
put in,
S-trap thing.
did they put in the P-trap, or did they, did Elin put that in? writing?
Elin put it in writing. So this, what this is it was up, it's installed upside down. The S-trap is installed upside down and there is an event on it.
Mhm.
So Elin sent him documentation that says this isn't gonna have a sewer gas problem. And,
I was just curious because it had to be one or the other. and
Right.
I thought maybe.
so if it were a P trap, it would have had to been vented through the wall and then out through.
Right. I just was curious what you said it was taken care of. I just wondered which way.
Elin gave him assurance that the S-trap would be sufficient
All right, then
after testing.
tomorrow, while we're doing everything else, snow, call Rusty and tell him there's paint on it. All right, I'll move you off of that one. And move to 1410 Sixth Avenue. And you can read for yourself, the inspector's opinion, the home should be raised, portions of it are not structurally sound, and the home is not habitable in its current condition. In fact, reading through that report, it sounds like there's several places where there's access to the inside of that building.
Mhm. I'm glad we got this one inspected.
This one was on the original list, but when they showed, we didn't know that it was inhabited by people. And when they got there, it had kids and dogs and they didn't know that it had people in there. So that was why they kind of moved on to the next because they didn't want to kick in the door of a
Weren't
family.
sure how to legally approach.
Yeah, we didn't know there was a family in there because there were no windows. I did not have knowledge that there was a family in there.
Well, I'm just glad we took advantage of the situation like that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is nuts.
Just out of curiosity, Steve, have you even tried to, I mean, have you been in contact with the owner?
I've reached out, yeah.
And I thought you said you'd reached out, but nothing.
It's kind of it's a tough thing with these things, because I understand what they're going through and I will continue to try to be in touch with them so that at least they have a pathway for some kind of a resolution. So we don't have to, I think it's beyond, I think this one's beyond,
And there is no one living there now, correct?
correct?
They're out. Okay.
They had to leave. It's just uninhabitable. I don't know. I've said that I thought houses were uninhabitable before and people are working on them, but this one's a heavy lift.
It's all new basement. I mean, completely.
Anything with enough money can be rehabbed. Go down to that corner of 8th Street, 9th Avenue, and what those people did with that place.
Well, it wasn't money, it was that they did a lot of the work themselves, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
but
that
it's
too.
Still money. You can't just do it with a little paint here and a little glue there. They had to gut that thing.
But they did the work themselves instead
Only
of hiring
wiring,
it out.
all new plumbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's cheaper than building a new house of equal size and square footage, but
All right, so what are our options here? Accept the report and turn it over to the lawyer for nuisance complaint violation?
Well, it sounds like you've made attempts to communicate and it hasn't
Yeah, maybe if we move it to the next level, that might encourage them to figure out something. Doesn't seem like they have interest in.
And now, I mean, has there been something set for them?
Initially,
Not by me. Oh, you mean from way back? Or
No, from this
As a result
inspection.
of this inspection?
not yet? I reached-
First?
Well, this one kind of happened pretty quickly.
I don't know if, I mean, so typically how, once it gets to my desk, when we have an improvement, what happens is we draft a petition, we attach the inspection report, and they get a copy of all that saying that we, we're moving forward with this. Please make the nuisances that are outlined here, or we take the next step inside of the report. So, I'm not saying like, I'm not sure what your other ones will go, we're gonna approve a resolution and send it to the legal proceedings at this meeting or next, but I would certainly think that a copy should be sent to the property owners at the mailing address.
I would say let's have a motion to hand it over to you to send this report on to the owners and tell
Okay.
them they either gotta come to the council and talk to us, they either have to abate this or face us in court.
Is there a procedure or anything that we can prevent this being inhabited again? Or, I mean, is if they move somebody in, they move somebody in? I can't recall if we've covered this. or
Chief
not.
had to go, but I'm pretty sure it's been placarded.
Yeah. I have not-
So when it's placarded, it says it's uninhabitable.
Right,
But if you can't get a hold of the owner,
Yeah, we've had that before.
right.
I mean, we're the best we can do. I don't know where these people, I personally don't know where they went. I
Did
don't,
he placard this house?
I'm not sure. He might have been waiting for the official paperwork from me. I don't know if he picked it up from my office.
Okay,
But
then
I know we've talked about it, so.
send him so this gets placard so we can at least have some legal standing, try to keep somebody from going in.
Yeah, and I'll call him in the morning. And we'll talk about it. I know he was waiting on me, so if it hasn't been placards, that's on me.
Okay, give me a motion on 1410 Sixth Avenue to hand it over to our lawyer for procedure.
I'll make a motion on 1410 Sixth Avenue to hand all legal proceedings over to the lawyer.
Is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. 111 15th Street is the Derby property, right?
Yeah.
Tell them what discussion you had with her and what the outcome is gonna be by January 1 on that.
so I talked with her on the phone and she said that her contractor that she had secured via verbal agreement said that they would have it done before the first of the year. And I said, I will call the contractor. May I know who the contractor is so we can make sure that we're in coordination here? So she gave me the name of the contractor and I contacted the contractor and he said that he would have it down by the first of the year, like the first week after the first of the year. And it's getting pretty close. Or not down, cleaned up.
I was gonna say it's been down.
Cleaned up.
But wasn't there correspondence then anyway?
Pardon?
Wasn't there correspondence, a follow-up in writing done?
Yes.
So,
Everything that I talked about with her, I sent back in writing and said that this, and this. I could forward that to y'all if you'd like to read that.
so when we get to the end of that week, if that hasn't been done, we'll be putting it back on.
Is it okay for the first week? Or do you want
First
to
week.
first week of or January or this by the first of the year?
We'll get it through the first week. I won't
Yeah.
But I'm guaranteeing that if they aren't done then, when's my first council meeting?
Four.
The 4th.
Well, I'll give you an update if we see any progress, because if we don't see any progress by the 4th of January, we're gonna guess that by the 18th, we're gonna be heading to court. But we should, because he did talk with the contractor. I did have, there was a discussion on nuisance property on the mayor's online, and I told Gabe this the other day, somewhere out in western Iowa, a homeowner told the judge, I refused to clean up the property, and the judge said, well, how about 30 days in jail to see if you'd like to change your mind?
Oh, boy.
And every mayor put on there, who's the judge? Can we get him in our nuisance cases? Guy agreed real quick to clean up the property when he was offered 30 days in jail. That would make him work faster, I can tell you that.
I don't see that theme with our judges.
No, that woke a whole bunch of mayors that were reading that up and went, hey, who was that? Where do we get him?
Mhm.
It's out west, folks, but I thought it was amazing. Okay, look at your treasurer's report, city budget, and your solar report. And I'll just let you shoot questions to the clerk. Tell me when you want to move on. Okay,
I don't think I have anything.
anything from Judy?
No.
By the way, Mitch sick or, you wouldn't know.
I
I
just
don't
figured,
know.
I just figured maybe it was tough driving.
Only comment I would like to make, when I was putting together the solar report, two things to point out. Jay and company are taking some good steps at the city shop, and I think that will positively affect, the savings there. Just buttoning things up, making them so the wind isn't just, blowing through from one building to the other, keeping the doors closed, not opening and shutting them multiple times a day. I think are all really good moves from the city shop. So that was good. And you'll notice for the first time I was able to put some type of numbers to the well field.
Yeah.
Solar. And it is showing some savings there, which is good. Because we didn't really think we would see savings for quite a while when it was still on demand code. So getting rid of that has been a godsend. And the solar people were kind of instrumental in helping
Yeah, they provided that
Complex
pathway,
pathway.
but it just took hitting them over the line, over the head for 6 months to finally get it. The decision to get us on demand rate code didn't take very long. The decision to get us off to.
They can never prove how we got on it.
All I was told was at one point there was a field engineer that said if Belle Plaine isn't on demand rate code now, they will be soon, so they should be put on demand rate code. Over the phone, not
That's
in
a
writing.
Bigger story than they ever told the city council 10 years ago.
I just got it over the
They
phone.
showed us a work form from, that was the only thing they had was a work form signed by a foreman that, well, you hear, that's why you're on it. What's this? We didn't approve it.
Yeah,
They had no proof that the city of Belle Plaine ever agreed to it or negotiated.
it's my understanding you had to exceed a certain amount of kilowatt hours for a whole year to be. put
They've
on.
had 10 years to make that story up.
Yeah. It's just disappointing, very disappointing, but we're off of it now,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's the good
The
thing.
gravy train is over, Wyatt.
So we'll come up with another one. Raise the rates. All right, if we got no stuff to do there, go to 14, discuss to set the first Belle Plaine budget hearing sometime the week of January 9th, 2023, in the council chambers in the Belle Plaine City Hall.
Actually, minor correction, it's not the budget hearing, it'll be the budget workshop.
It's a workshop.
I won't say whether you told me hearing or whether I heard you wrong.
I don't know what I said. And I've read it 3 times, so.
Wednesday, the 11th, would probably be the best one, but that's got a school board meeting for you.
I cannot come the 12th.
I will not be here the 11th.
Okay, so the 11th and 12th are now out. I don't think anybody wants to do it on Friday night. How about Monday, the 9th?
That's in your calendar.
As far as I know, I don't have anything.
Because I kind of like to see the girls' game on the 6th. That's Belle Plaine girls, that is not UNI.
Did the 9th work for you?
Yeah. Yep, then I just have fire training the 11th.
Fire training on,
The 11th.
okay. What about the 9th? Start out the week, working on the budget.
Perfect.
I think that'll work.
All right,
Time?
6:30. We want him here for full punishment.
We try and make it fun, wonderful, and exciting.
Okay, the first one of these, Councilman Peck and I were at, went 3 hours. And she looked at the city administrator and says, well, how'd that go? Was that about like normal? And he says, no, they're usually 15 minutes long.
It only ended because the city clerk had to go babysit in Williamsburg and said, I'm on here. That's how it happened.
Why did it go so much longer than normal?
Because I asked questions.
Oh, I see.
Nobody ever
Okay.
done that
Oh,
before.
I get it now.
questions
Okay,
before.
okay.
We're gonna say, I'm pretty sure we were about 3 hours last year, 2.5. So, yeah, it gets long.
Mhm.
Well,
It does if you go through everything.
Well, and we were working with,
Any detail.
we were working with these DOS worksheets that were just, I mean, it was a book about this. Sick. Well, give me that much information, I'll get you some questions.
she did.
Well, I didn't have anything to compare it to.
But the best question of the night was, well, Bill, is that about normal length for one of these?
About 3 hours long.
I could see he was getting upset over there, and I knew the clerk was already upset. Anything for committee of the whole? Anything on our water stuff?
We just continue to provide the things that they ask for, and I asked for updates, and I've been pretty busy, so I haven't been rattling anybody's cage about it. But there are things that we're working at in parallel, so there's still stuff, this kind of goes into the administrator's report. We did wrap up the filter testing, and Jay sent that off today or yesterday.
Yesterday.
So that's returned. I can give a quick update on the wells. I talked to Tom. He's been a little hard to get a hold of. I didn't realize that his daughter passed away. So we're working on closing down well 5, which is not on city property. It's in the easement for that hunting group. The power's been disconnected, and Tom texted me today and said that the paperwork should be done here pretty quickly so we can start filling that well with bentonite and concrete and going through the DNR step. Tom with Northway. I'll have to get you,
That's
if you,
his name, Tom.
he has a complicated last name. I can get you the spelling. in it.
Oh, John with Clap Saddle
I just
Gardner.
didn't know if Tom was with Alliance or just Tom.
Sorry.
I just was curious.
Northway Well and Pump.
We don't know anybody in city government. We just know first name business they're with. Who'd I meet with today? Bruce with
The airport.
the airport. Not this Bruce, a different Bruce. Wasn't that a Bruce? Who was there delivering the pretzels?
Oh, Bolton and Mink.
Yeah. Who was a Montezuma kid.
I have last names if anybody needs them. They're just difficult to pronounce.
Well, go on to, let's hear some project reports, because you do have some new updates on things that we have.
Okay, so filter was returned. Corey and I met with the bowling alley guy, and she already went over that. We are most of the way complete with Minnow Creek. Jay and I made a decision. We talked, and we're sending that excavator back because it was sold to a farmer, and we didn't think we'd be able to get back to Minnow Creek for the next several weeks. So we're just not going to pay to have it sitting. We've got other things going on. So we're hoping if everything continues and the council is agreeable with the way we're doing things and equipment procurement, that we'll have our own excavator picked out here pretty soon. Jay will have some more information on that, but
What's our extended time on that project?
March.
Okay.
So right now we're kind of in places where it's really tight. The excavator we had was pretty good size, and it'd be easier to do with a smaller machine and the skid loader that we're going to be getting. Is that accurate, Jay?
Yeah, we're gonna be going like behind Rick Peterson's there.
We didn't want to take a
Want to tear.
bulldozer level tracks through there, and
We've got high lines going through there, so.
yeah, we're going to have to thread the needle through that area.
So are you all the way up there?
I got one spot behind
Kriegels.
Kriegels, but I'll probably have to do a lot of that by hand and chain, because it's so big across there, I couldn't reach across, and so I'll have to log chain a bunch of that out of there, and once I'm through there, that's about the last log jam I gotta get out of there.
Once the debris removal is complete, then the embankment control and the stone and all those things will be put into place.
But that was not dependent on the excavator anyway, right?
No, we can haul that pretty closely, but if we need to place it with the excavator, hopefully the one that we have at that time will be able to reach those areas. So yeah, Jay and I talk a lot, and Jay gives a lot of good ideas. So we go with them and save money, and that's why the excavator's gone. Plus it was sold, so we had to figure out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it was- doesn't sound like there was much-
Well, it was whether we were going to lease another one right away immediately. We still based on timing, we still may have to lease something, until we get to the point where, we have to sell some more equipment that we don't need, like backhoe, and some other things. Pardon?
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't want to spoil Jay's surprises. But there's some more good things coming.
I don't know if it'll be as good as the last.
That was pretty good. Well, if we get a mini excavator, we'll continue to be able to save a lot of money when it comes to public works projects, because it'll increase the safety, the speed that we can do the work, and just the capabilities of the work that we can do with a mini excavator compared to the backhoe. They didn't really have mini excavators when we bought the backhoe. We've had it for so long, so
Yeah, it's a 96, so it's been around a little while.
we got our money's worth out of it. So, and some of the attachments that Jay will be getting now could be interchangeable with a mini excavator, such as the concrete breaker or things like that. So that just adds to the versatility. We will now be reading water meters with the water department and any other staff that are wanting to do that during regular time hours. So that's going to get handed off. And so that should be once we get that down, Al's going to train the guys. That should mean that with time, we'll have very specific read times, and it kind of, if there were any kind of major weather events or anything else, that would lead to 5 or 6 week read times, and it was just hard to keep up. So
And it's because Al resigned his position.
yes.
He resigned that meter reader job. And then if you think ahead, maybe we do it this way, and then 3 years from now, if we replace all the water meters and Belle Plaine, we'll be going wireless, and we'll just be reading it from a triangle.
Driving by like.
Well, actually, they'd actually be able to read them from her desk. So if there was a leak, it would throw up an alert, and you'd probably know within 15 minutes if there was irregular usage. That's the technology that's available.
What would one meter like that cost?
$250 or something like that. Then there's a software and stuff like that. So to do the whole town, that was one of the things that I asked to be put into the water study, was a 4 to 5 year plan of replacement for all the meters throughout town, so that we would have a newer system. And it's a big investment, but the older meters, the way I explain it to people when they call up and say my meter's reading fast, I say it's like a windmill. If the wind blows, the windmill can turn, but if the windmill gets rusty, it can stop turning even though the wind's blowing. And a water meter is kind of the same way. So they can lose efficiency over time. And once they get over 20 years old, the meter companies recommend replacing them. And I know some of the ones we've got in there are very,
Yours are about there.
yeah. Then there are some that are older. So it would be a phased out project. Otherwise, you're looking at $400,000 or something like that to replace every meter in town.
What's the sophomore? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm involved with school. The software, is it pretty expensive too?
It depends on what we get. I don't want to be vague, but there are probably
Multiple-
6 different
multiple
brands.
ones.
Yeah, there's 6 different brands. So each brand has their own thing. Some of them play well with others. So you could have this brand and this brand that both speak to the same software. But it used to be The hottest technology was RF or radio frequency, and that's where you would drive around with a little box in your truck and it would just ding, 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 ding. But now they're going to mobile technology, and I'm kind of glad that we did not go with the radio frequency ones about 10 years ago. We weren't in a position to buy them anyway, but that was something that several communities that I know of went with, and it's kind of not even going to be supported here pretty soon. So everything is cloud-based now, and that doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. So, but you know, those are all things that are going to be up for discussion when we get to the water study time.
So have you figured out when your first week is that you're gonna have to read meters?
So I talked to Al yesterday, the day before, yesterday, and I talked to him a little bit more today. So we talked about how the machine works and the route and everything like that. So he can pretty much start training someone as soon as immediately when they're available. So John, Nick, Jay, Dave, we can,
2nd of January,
yeah.
to answer your question.
So we'd have to start by the 2nd of January to stay on schedule.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Would he be one that would be put in the cycle to read meters as well on the clock, or is that not?
Yes,
It could be.
he could be. He really enjoyed it, yeah, he said, but there are just several factors that led to him, you know, he thought maybe, you know, younger guys could get it done faster too, you know, and kind of passing the
I'm just
torch.
saying in a
Pinch,
kind of
yeah.
situation, you know.
Yeah,
He's
anybody,
thrown in the-
that's just part of our cross training thing. So everybody
Mhm.
kind of familiarized with everything. So until the water meter reading technique changes, he'll still have very intimate knowledge of how that system works. He's been doing it for a long time. And this job used to be done completely internally with the wastewater department years ago.
Well, it used to be done by any yo-yo they could hire part-time to do it, because I did it for one whole cycle in 73.
Didn't you say Sankets didn't work?
That was back when they had to get down on their knees and read the.
Yeah, he had to go in. Sankett told me, oh, well, you're going down there, hadn't worked since 29.
1929.
Down and looked at it, looked at the book. By God, he's right. Same reading it had 1929. They were just paying the minimum.
The windmill had stopped.
Bank told me nobody's ever been down there to look at it. Well, there is now. There's a new reader in town.
Just confirming that it doesn't work.
Had one lady say, well, I'm glad to see you're using that college degree. God, lady, I need this for beer and cigarettes. Got nothing to do with being a UNI.
Does anybody have any questions about any projects or updates on anything? So one of the things I wanted to end on then is, so we're in a snow emergency that starts at midnight, and we originally had Lance in circuit in the circuit for being part of that, and he's not feeling well. So I'm a will call if Jay needs me to, just depending on what happens. So I went down and made sure I knew how to run all the stuff that I might need to run.
You know, what time are we going out?
Al usually checks on it about every hour or so, but did you guys?
I'm going out at 3. It's probably gonna be pointless, but I'm gonna go stay on it.
So Jay's in charge of all the business district downtown area. And he went out and practiced with the loader and the snow pushing bucket during our last snow, and got familiarized with how that operates, because it's a little different than running a bucket. He's got it down.
And if the forecast holds, which we have no reason to believe it won't. Guys are gonna come in at noon and we're gonna go through with their Christmas luncheon, but they're probably headed back out to their trucks and plow, and they'll probably be plowing on Friday, and they will be plowing on Saturday. Just whatever, we'll make all that stuff up. We owe them, because traditionally, they've come in and had their Christmas lunch, and then the whole staff's got the afternoon off, and Steve and I run City Hall. Except I've already announced City Hall will not be out until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. It's closing at 5.
I noticed that.
I just wanted to make, that was my decision. We're not staying open and take late water bills or whatever for 3 extra hours.
It'd be really late.
I don't think anybody's gonna come tomorrow.
Clerks are gonna get, when we get done here, the clerks are gonna get the afternoon off, but our guys will be doing what our guys have to do, and we will make up for them on what we owe them. And if we have them working on a holiday, they will get holiday pay, and we will make that day up for them. It was interesting discussion with one of the garbage guys, because your garbage is going to be pushed back next week, and they don't like that. They would rather not have Monday off. They would rather be here picking up garbage.
And when we had a team meeting this morning about snow removal and other various things that we have going on. And I told the staff that, if we do have to work over Christmas and Christmas Eve or whatever the case may be, that we're gonna make it up as soon as it's feasible for them.
So the public announcement said, snow emergency through the 23rd.
We're gonna see how it goes, and then we'll extend it if we need to.
Okay.
We just didn't know what to do,
I think
so it's a,
The city code actually states 48 hours for snow emergencies.
And we
You
have-
to basically redeclare it.
yeah, and we have to do 12 hours in advance, correct?
Well, or we could declare an emergency and do it however we want.
So, yeah,
So keep your ears and eyes open if we don't get something done, or if you hear some complaints. We're hoping, I think we got a better plan for downtown.
Saturday will probably be our main cleanup day. We'll keep up with it, but Saturday's probably gonna be the day we really fine clean it.
Well, and this wind is not gonna help
Mm.
anything.
we
You
have,
get stuff cleaned and come back 6 hours later and have drifts that,
so we have snow blower, the broom, a blade for the smaller equipment. So whatever we need to do to get it cleaned up, we have.
That room is the John Deere attachment.
Yeah,
So
we used to call that the ice polisher. It was the polish
Zamboni.
the ice.
is the plan, if the winds are 50 miles an hour, is the plan to continue on residential or just call everybody off and just worry about main, like emergency routes?
Probably, I would say.
well, you said when Dave was getting sand, the state guys said that they might not even go out for a while. There's just not gonna, if there's no visibility.
Yeah, and that's what I.
Nobody.
131 will be fun, won't it?
That guy comes from Grinnell to do that.
Michael just stated.
Yeah.
So does the
From
guy
Grinnell.
that's hired to do Casey's. He's from Montezuma.
So I've just tried to get the guys' numbers that are going to be doing our routes so that I can call them and see, if they'll take my call, just see how it's going or stay on top of
The
it.
safest way to 30 might be to go to Chelsea up to 30 and do it that way rather than the toboggan run over here.
Actually, I saw a semi one day turn left at the intersection down here. And I guess I was going to Tama. And I caught up with him and he got up to 30. He went that way and then he turned right and went towards Cedar Rapids. That was just a
You
normal.
get paid by the mile, you can do that kind of stuff.
He'd been down 131 before.
Yeah.
So he didn't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this was just months ago. It was just in nice weather and everything, but I just thought, that's the same guy that I thought
This is-
then left it, like he was headed towards Chelsea.
well, if you're not familiar, I mean, the GPS is what's really screwing up a lot of stuff, I think. It's sending people down gravel roads and everything else. You don't know where you're gonna, I mean, if you're not from around here.
But if you look at the DOT signs of where the heck the
No,
detour
I
is,
know. There's
now,
still people turning around out there repeatedly.
If you've got this here and this sign saying go this way, well, this says go that way, then you probably shouldn't be on the road anyway.
Well, you don't want to know how many shouldn't be on the road.
Well, I see some of them every day when you're out there, and you probably see more of them. What else you got, Steve? Anything else? I'm glad to see. I knew we'd be prepared because you and I have been talking about this. It just to the public, hey, we can only push snow when we got snow, and there is no switch down there to turn it on. So we like snow to start at midnight, and do your heaviest stuff at 2 a.m. and then we'll be in at 3. If it wants to power down all the way, and last forecast I saw said snow till 11 or 12 in the morning.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Noonish.
And then letting off, but now here comes the wind as well. We can only do what we can do.
Yeah, it's just wait and see kind of. We have tentative plans.
No, I think we'll do all right. Anything else for Steve? I'm making mine quick. Landfill meeting was the first time we ever used only 2 tables. We barely had a quorum there. We did the budget and passed through stuff as fast as possible. Ben Development had their Christmas party. We used our new barbecue place to cater it, and they did a fantastic job. And they will be bringing some good eats here tomorrow. They're doing a brisket and some potatoes and some macaroni and cheese. So if you're in town, come down and have lunch.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
He came in earlier today and talked to Sandy and Ashley and I and said that he's going to try to be open as much as possible through the storm. If anybody needs to go down and get something to eat or a warm place to go or whatever. He did ask. I forgot to mention that.
We talked with Republic. He will be here in February to talk to us about their proposal. And if we're not set on liking it or not liking it, then you have the option, you can bid this out. I think they'll work with us on what we want. And then I did a senior class presentation, went back and actually presented city government to 2 senior classes. Found out my feet aren't in teaching shape anymore to stand in front of the classroom. Plus, he didn't have a podium to lean on. I really need a podium to lean on. Our kids still think the only thing we do is send the cops out to Bob. They never think about the sewer plant or the water or anything. Okay, Gage, what do you got?
I just wanted to update the council on a couple things. One, first and foremost, we got a judgment against Buck and Virginia, or Buck Growett and Virginia Smalley on that property. They have, according to the judge's order, 90 days to, it's been declared a public nuisance, and so they're ordered to immediately vacate the property and secure the structures. Defendants are reported, and any reported Title IV holders, the property shall abate the nuisance within 90 days, or the city can do it and assess a cost of $6,500. So, essentially, they have 90 days from the 21st to take care of themselves, or we're authorized to take the next steps. And if that looks like tear down, we'll be able to recoup up to $6,500 of that cost by assessing it to the property owners.
And then what happens with that property? Do we own it at that point, or they still own it?
So if we just abate the nuisance, they would still own it. We could assess it to their taxes through the special assessment. Or it'd also be a personal, and then it'll be a personal judgment against the property and also against them. So,
But we could only charge them $6,500.
yeah, so $6,500 is the amount, because they ended up, so we never had a hearing on it. They ended up pleading guilty in the last hour. So because it's in the magistrate division, that's the maximum amount that we can request.
We can do it for that.
Yeah, well, I was
The
hoping,
machine.
we could, just based off of, that's what the previous lot sold for, and I know we recouped most of our costs. When we sold those 2 lots for $5,000 apiece. So, that's that update. I've also been working with Norgard's office. Andrews has been out recently for health issues, but I've been trying to work with him to work with the property owners to see if there's some type of resolution. The way I see it, it's one of 3 things. It's either they tear it down themselves and do that cost. We tear it down and assess it to their taxes, which is what this order gives us permission to do, or they deed it to the city. And then we go through the whole process of tearing it down and trying to sell it as a vacant lot like we did with the previous ones. And that's what I was talking to the mayor about the other day. And as a general policy, when I talk to these property owners, give any of these property owners those 3 options. Just because some people don't really want the property or don't have the funds to do it themselves. And so I say, well, some resolutions in the past have been, you deed it over to the city, we'll take care of it, and then we recoup our cost by selling it and public.
And we can give them a tax rebate.
Yeah, we can give them
Or,
on their taxes, basically a deduction for that.
State income tax rebate.
So, that's that property. The other property which I want to talk to you about was the 1502 6th Avenue Burns property. I know Steve had received an email here a month or so ago, forwarded on to me. I was finally able to get a hold of the property owner, Sophia Burns, on the phone. It sounds like she's listed the property
That's correct.
as of the last week of November for sale. So now that we have contact with her, I guess I'm looking for some direction from the council. Do you still want me to proceed through the court proceedings? That's still ongoing. Now that I have an address and contact information, and from what I understand, nobody's living at the property anymore.
And I had actually, not to interrupt, gotten a hold of the listing agent and made them aware of the broad strokes of what's happening there and instructed them to speak to you.
Okay, I haven't received any call from them yet, but
Well,
basically,
the realtor contacted me and I told her, you sell that property without warning that there is a nuisance complaint filed against it by the city of Belle Plaine. You could be putting yourself in a fraud situation. You have to make them aware, and they're gonna have to come and see us before they buy that property. And then there was another guy who looked at it to ask me what the deal was. And I said, well, you can come in and talk to the council. He sent me back and says, the foundation's so bad on that, I withdrew. So I think we just need to push it on the court.
Yes,
yeah, okay,
absolutely.
that's what I needed to know. So I'll continue that process now that we have contact information, know where she's at. She's actually at Calmar,
Yeah.
northern Iowa. So, we will get her served personally now that we know where she's at, because that's what I'm sure the court will want to see done now that we have personal knowledge of where she is. And proceed down that route. The other thing I have, I guess, the only other thing is, I know a few weeks ago, I think Tyann Smith, the dog bite case, she had several outstanding tickets. I think I'm going to try and make it a policy moving forward, just update the council with anything that comes before us. In this particular case, she was cited for 3 different citations because of the kind of the story and the position that the council took. We worked with her, and she ended up pleading guilty to the 2. We dropped one of the charges. She paid all costs associated with that drop charge, just you know, the conditions of kind of how that particular facts and circumstances played out. So,
Do we know where after the dog? She found the home for that dog.
I know she said she had been in contact with City Hall regarding some difficulties with.
She is open to any ideas that we have.
What happened to Safe Haven?
Safe Haven had an outbreak of ringworm,
Oh, ringworm.
and they're not accepting any pets, any dogs. She has contacted Tama. She's contacted,
Now, I think she mentioned another one.
yeah,
Pause, I think. Pause is,
and none of them
What breed was that dog, Gage? I can't remember.
taking the dogs.
Unknown origin?
That dog anyway.
Yeah.
She's like, she's not trying to keep it. She's not trying to go against what the council asked her to do. She just doesn't know what to do.
I told her to keep in contact with the City Hall and as far as any updates.
Someone had mentioned maybe Marshalltown. I don't know where to send people. That's not something I have good knowledge.
Let's make contact with her next week and see if she's found anything. I don't want to see the dog put down, but
Me or Gage or
you can
Sandy?
go ahead and contact her. Let's see where we're at with that.
Sandy, could you email me her contact info? I don't have, to my knowledge.
The chief's not here. I'll go back and talk to the chief about one of our other dog bite cases, because we're supposed to be a video of that dog violating our order. But I'm not sure the video was really viewable.
I did have I was in court last week for the City Hall plan and did have a first time in my almost 5 years of being here. We had to get a French interpreter. So that was a whole process I had never been through before. So,
For Belle Plaine citizen?
somebody that was stopped in the city of Belle Plaine. Really there from Hiawatha.
What was that one guy we delivered meals to that was French Canadian? Anybody remember him? He lived up on Derby's Street up there. He was tough to understand. Then he moved to 6th Avenue. And I forget where he moved to. But he talked a little French.
So we spent half hour, 45 minutes on hold trying to find a French interpreter for the Iowa court system. That was exciting.
You took Spanish, right?
Yeah, I did.
I know a lot did.
Very different languages.
Any questions for Gage? Any questions from the council, period?
WRH.
We submitted the initial findings of facts and proposed decree. The final one, both sides submitted it last week, I think. The final one's due Friday, and then I believe the judge is taking it under advisement between Christmas and New Year's. Should have something, I believe, back first part of January-ish.
Jennifer and I talked on what should be in ours. We came up to what we thought was an agreeable proposal.
So that's what I get to do tomorrow during the snowstorm, in
Okay.
case anyone's wondering.
Well, you gotta work type the final proposal.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Can you work from home?
I'll probably go back in the office, all the files.
If it's quick, I'll let you go on.
The last thing I did before the council meeting was I submitted 2 first appeals back to FEMA for a roads and bridges project, like 21st Street and some of the other ones. Leon's helping me through that. So once FEMA will deny that, then hopefully we can start playing with the local state Homeland Security guys.
Should send that to my good friend up on 21st Street that wants me to asphalt. Street. Yet this year,
Hmm.
because there are people driving 70 miles an hour. I said, how about if I send a cop?
21st Street, huh? That's,
I just went down 21st Street. You can't go 70 miles an hour and control your car at certain points.
no,
Yeah.
The road must not be as bad as we think. You can drive 70
No,
on
it's-
it.
it's bad. This
Well, my
can't happen
discussion
fast enough.
started, he wanted to talk about 21st Avenue, and I says, there isn't one. Oh, he goes, all right, so I said, no, it's just on 21st Street. There is no 21st Avenue. It ends at 13th. Just another one of those fun contacts, trying to explain why we don't have all the street money we want. Well, I have nothing more, so everyone have a Merry Christmas. Any resident comments? Seeing no residents that are left here, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
My motion for adjournment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0, you're out at 8:56 PM. Good job on the